Our speaker is here, and he has books for sale over at the library table, so feel free if you're interested in one of JR's book. We'll talk about him later. Right now we have two speakers here from the Mississauga Search and Rescue Unit, and they are Mark and Jeff. They are here to tell you how to survive in the wilderness until you are found. Okay? Let's give them a warm welcome. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mark. I've been with Mississauga Search and Rescue for the last 28 years. And some of the stuff that we're going to talk about tonight, let me have Jeff introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Jeff Berry. I am brand new with the team. I started in January. I'm just a big outdoors guy like the rest of the team, like most of you folks. One of my credentials is I'm a wilderness first responder certified. So anything I can do to get outside and have fun, I'd like to do that. I'm also an ACA certified instructor. I teach over at Bay Creek Paddling Center. So just started to put all the skills together and figured I'd join Mississauga Search and Rescue to start to give back a little bit.
One of the first things we're going to talk about tonight is how to dress properly for being outside. One of the things you want to kind of keep in mind is that the old adage, cotton kills. Blue jeans and cotton t-shirts are a no-no out in the woods. So what we try to wear is pants that have polyester in them and something that will dry quickly. Wicking material is always preferred, and something that will still keep you warm even if you get wet. So one of the things we try to stress with new people is to get good rain gear and spend the money to get something that's breathable. Helly Hansen, anything with Gore-Tex is really good. If you have a lot of kids and stuff in your crew, you can go to the old standby of 55-gallon trash bags. These things are cheap. You can outfit a whole family for a couple of bucks. The nice thing about kids and stuff is that they fit in these garbage bags really easy. They put them over just like a poncho, and these garbage bags have multiple uses, so we try to have everybody on our team carry at least 2 of these. What you do is just put it right over the top of your head after you cut a hole in it for your face. You don't put any armholes in it. And when we're doing our Hug a Tree program for the kids, this is one of the basic tools that every kid should have in their day pack. Some of the day packs we go into, I call this my man purse. I take this anywhere when I go kayaking and camping. It's got a lot of basic stuff in it in case I overturn the kayak, which never happens. But a lot of the basic stuff you can either have underneath your seat or in your kayak so that it's easily accessible. Some of the rain gear that you could also go for is a cheap poncho. Something with grommets so that you can make a shelter out of it very easily.
Didn't think I was going to be banned.
These are all one size fits all, so you can get them for a bunch of kids if you have to, and they're relatively inexpensive, and you can make a cheap shelter out of them if you have to.
Somebody's asking where your grommets are.
Grommets are in the corners and along the peripheral edges. So you can set it up like a shelter and stay under it to stay dry. Some of the stuff that I've got in my man purse is just some of the basic stuff that we carry in our day packs all the time. It's fire-making material, a way to stay dry, and some way to purify water, which is either a cup of some sort you can boil water in. Some of the new filters that they have out, you can actually, this canteen also has a filter inside of it. So all you'd have to do is put dirty water inside of it. It's got the filter in the center. You squeeze it out right into your mouth, and it cleans the water very efficiently. One of the things I got for Christmas is the new MSR gravity bag. They're idiot proof. You've got a clean water bag. You fill up your dirty water bag, you hook the hosing up, you pump the system 10 times, you get the siphon going, you hang your dirty water bag nice and high, and let gravity take care of everything else. You can filter water very easily this way. I also have a couple of other smaller units. I bought this one at Sierra Trading Post for $8. And these are one-time use only, up to 55 gallons of water. Yep. You guys want to pass this around? You can, I guess once they get wet, you start sucking water into them, they start to degrade over time. So you can't store it for 3 months after you use it. The nice thing about the MSR is you can do 100,000 gallons with something like this. This thing's only good for about 50 gallons, but when you're hiking and stuff, this is light. This is also considered your canteen. If you don't want to take some sort of water filtration system, you can always resort to boiling your water. But sometimes boiling doesn't take out the nasty flavor. So what I usually suggest for some of our people is any type of metal container that you can have to boil water, purify water. And if you're in a big group, I would get something like this. So a group of Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, or you get a family of 4 or 5, something like this is really handy. They make some of the filters even smaller than that, but I didn't bring them. Some of the filtration systems will actually attach. MSR makes a system that actually attaches to the jug, so you don't have to go into the clean water bag. You can go right from the dirty water bag to a canteen and keep all your water contaminant free. One of the things I carry when I'm traveling across the state or out of town is a UV filter. And the UV filters are good for if you're in a motel room. You want to keep your the UV filters are really good if you've got water that comes out of somebody's sink that you are not quite sure whether it's good or not. What I would do is I would get the Stereopen makes these, and I would get the one that runs on AA batteries. This was on sale. So try to standardize all your batteries between your GPS, your flashlight, and your Stereopen. And a lot of places that you have to worry about viruses, this will actually kill virus. A lot of these filtration systems will take out protozoa, cysts, cryptosporidium, mold and fungus, but they won't carry or won't filter out the viruses. This, with a UV light, actually kills the viruses themselves. This is actually a really good unit. You have anything you want to say? Some people who are doing a lightweight backpacking will actually go to a tablet system. You can use iodine, chlorine. Aquamir has something similar, but you have to wait half an hour, and a lot of times cold water, you have to wait extra time for cold water for it to be purified. Sometimes the Stereopen, when it's extremely cold, won't work, and this is idiot proof too. You stick this thing in a glass of water, you turn it on, you wait 15 seconds to 45 seconds, depending on how much water you have at one time, and it'll either give you a smiling face or a frowny face. If it's a frowny face, you don't want to drink the water. You guys can pass this around too if you want. Some of the other things we try to stress with people is if you're dry, you want to stay dry. So if you're getting good rain gear, you want to be able to stay as dry as you can, and if you're wet, you want to get dry as quickly as possible. What happens is wet clothing sucks away your heat 30 to 40 times faster than natural air convection. So one of the things you have to do is get a fire started. Some of the natural burning materials that you will find out in the woods, if anybody doesn't know what birch bark looks like, I have a couple of samples of what birch bark looks like. We have golden birch, yellow birch, and everybody knows what white birch looks like. This stuff is probably some of the best fire starting material that you can have, and without this stuff, you have to resort to other methods, which is most of the times when we're doing searches in areas that are swampy. So most of the cedar swamps that are in New York State have what's known as eastern white cedar. And this is a very good fire starting material. And we can go into a whole dendrology class about what woods make the best firewood starting material. But the easiest way to determine whether a wood is good or not is if you can dig your thumbnail in it. If your thumbnail digs easily into the wood, it's softwood, and you can start a fire very easily. If you can't dig your finger in it, then put it back to the ground and get something that's softer to start with. Some of the fire building materials that we have and want to bring with us are, Jeff will show you, we've got petroleum impregnated cotton balls. You can use dryer lint that's impregnated with lips, chapstick, petroleum jelly, bug spray will work, even alcohol pads work. And if you want to use your striker, we recommend that anybody that goes out in the woods in our team has at least 3 separate ways to start a fire. And this is probably one of the easiest ways for starting a fire. Even if it's soaking wet, it'll work nicely. You want to start a cotton ball up here? We'll probably set up a fire alarm.
Has everyone seen these? Okay. One of the things that I strongly recommend is when you're out in the field, when you're out hiking, it really helps to understand your equipment and what you're doing. So if you've never started a fire without anything but a lighter, practicing out in the field in some conditions is pretty important. So this is right here, all we gotta do is the kind of flint and steel type thing. So I'm just going to take the rod. Takes a little bit of work, but eventually it'll go. Like I said, I usually have 3 pieces of fire starting. I always have a lighter. Alright. I'll have one of these on me. And then I have the traditional waterproof matches that I always carry.
Big lighters are so cheap that everybody should have one in their backpack. This is a Zippo lighter. These things, the only downside is you have to keep filling them up with fuel. Big lighters are pressurized butane, and for 50 cents, you shouldn't have any reason to skip on having one in your backpack.
Because winter, anything winter. Who's outside the winter? A good fair amount of you. All right. Every winter jacket that I have has a big lighter. Every jacket. People think I smoke. I don't. Okay. So it's just a good habit to really get into is having that lighter in your car. I don't know how many lighters I have in my car. Every jacket has a lighter. And then usually I have different packs depending on what I'm doing. Each
pack has its own fire starter kit. So you start to build your pack out and add those necessities, those are really important necessities to it.
Fire steels are probably today's modern version of flint and steel. They can be soaking wet, and you can take them right out of your pocket after you've been swimming in the lake and get a fire started without any problem. The bad thing about big lighters and Zippo lighters is if the flint magnesium part gets wet, it won't strike a light. So you got to keep some of these things dry. The old standard wooden matches that are self-striking are another handy thing to have in your pack. These are probably used last. I use my Zippo lighter and fire steel the most. You should also keep a bunch of birch bark and fire starting material in your pack. You even keep an extra pack of paper matches. Some of the mass-produced commercial fire starters look like chipboard, and all it is processed wood paper and pulp and a little bit of wax. These things start very easily too. It pays to keep some of this stuff in your pack because a lot of times when it's rainy, you'll have a very difficult time finding anything that's burning or burnable out in the woods that hasn't been soaking wet for 2 or 3 days. To keep some of this stuff, keep some of this stuff in your pack, and you'll always have a fire capable. If you have dryer lint, after you do a bunch of cotton towels at home, you can take dryer lint and impregnate it with petroleum jelly or chapstick. You get the dirty job. Once you've run that stuff through the fibers, it stays lit for quite a while, and even if it's raining, you'll have a tougher time putting it out. It's pretty easy to make beforehand. All you have to do is clean out your dryer lint trap, rub some petroleum jelly in it, and it's perfect to have. I keep it in a backpack because it's kind of greasy and messy. Some of the other stuff that we try to have is some 550 cord, and this is stuff that you have on hand so that you can set up a shelter in a quick and efficient manner. If it's raining outside, what you want to do is set up a shelter as quickly as possible. Set up your shelter with the back towards the wind so that you can set a fire right in front of it. You can adjust the tension. Once you set up your shelter, it's pretty easy to set up so that you can stay dry. You set it up so that it's about 4 feet off the ground, stake out the back end of it, and with your back to the wind, you can put a small fire out where the table is and keep yourself relatively warm the rest of the night. It's very easy to get cold when you're out in the woods, so a lot of times we suggest you can make a shelter out of these things too. These are called space blankets. These space blankets will reflect 90% of your heat back to your body. And you can set up a shelter, wrap yourself with a space blanket, snow. This one is probably only $10 right here. I wouldn't go with some of the cheaper space blankets that they have, one-time disposable stuff that you find in a lot of hardware stores that fold up. They're not very good. They don't have a lot of life or longevity to them. And if they've been sitting in your car when it's 140 degrees, sometimes they'll laminate together. And when you go to pull them apart, they'll rip. This is probably one of the most effective things you have. For 10 or 15 bucks, this one piece of equipment can really save your life.
That's probably one of the better things, cheaper things to go with. This is an outdoor research bivvy that I use. I've used it quite a bit. This is in every backpacking trip I go in. It adds a little extra weight, maybe 2 pounds, roughly. But I know that this thing works, and it's going to keep me dry. It's also going to keep me somewhat comfortable in case something happens and I have to stay out overnight. So this is always with me.
Some of the other cheaper pieces of equipment you can have is actually tie packs. I have a friend who's in the construction business, so anytime you cut out a picture window, they wrap the houses in this. This is a breathable fabric. This is good for sitting on if you have to take a break for lunch or anything like this. It's pretty cheap. It was free for me because this stuff was retrieved out of the dumpster. So a lot of the time, you've got somebody that's in the construction business, this is relatively inexpensive. And it's lightweight, it's really tough, and actually takes the trouble. That's what they read in the house. It keeps the water out and allows the house to breathe. Typex is pretty expensive. They actually make hand suits and some of the gummy suits out of these things because they're disposable.
So far we've kind of covered staying dry, having the proper rain gear, starting a fire, and then shelter. So those, I think, those are three of the important topics that we cover with a lot of our folks, and kind of train with those in mind. And starting fires, creating shelter, and being able to stay out overnight if we have to.
This is another type of shelter that's really becoming popular in Europe. It's called Brooks Range. You basically, this is the 4-person tent right here, and it's made for putting over the 4 people to sit on it, on the edges of it, on the black part, keeps your butt dry, and you can actually cook inside of it, light meals for lunch and stuff. You can put your ski poles in here that actually holds it up. This is about 40 bucks. They make them a 2-man version too. They're actually pretty handy. You can get online and stuff and see the video on this. Guys in a winter snowstorm, and you get basically out of the weather temporarily or something like this. Still breeze because it's got some vent holes in the top. You can set it up so that you can actually, if you're under a tree or something, you can actually prop it up under a tree with some rope. And they're pretty efficient, keeping you warm. A lot of times we're looking for people who are underdressed. This is probably one of the first things that we would do with most people that we come in contact with that are lost are hypothermic. So the whole idea is to get them as warm as quickly as possible without heating them up to the point where sometimes if someone's been dumped in the water, they don't want to heat them up too fast because they may cause them to have a heart attack. Something like this would be, if they have a 2-man tent, it's probably only going to be about half the size of this 4-man. And I had to use this one yet. You get online, you can see Brooks Range makes a pretty good video on some of the stuff. They're up in the mountains when it's snowing and blowing pretty good. The guy who's inside of it can get warm enough so they can stay out of the weather, at least temporarily.
Art just touched on something else really important. So if you do end up getting lost, getting wet, and having to stay out overnight, something else that you really might want to consider, and it's actually a huge But now, for under £1, I have something that's pretty quick to heat water, soup, hot chocolate, and then I have my little pot to boil water. This is anyone? MSR, RI.
Yep. You can buy the little canisters.
Yeah, this is
fuel just about
yeah,
anywhere.
you can get canisters anywhere, and then this is an MSR. There's quite a few different makes and models out there. I saw this in action, and so I was a little familiar with it. Just went and got that. This you can't refill. That's the only problem I don't like about the canisters. But for years, I carried a fuel bottle with a heavier stove, and so now I'm trying to get my weight down these days. So, but these do last. You can recycle them. It's a great question. I used one of these for quite a few meals. I was able to do one of these for almost a weekend camping trip, doing breakfast and dinner. So they will last quite a while. The only drawback of these, you have to be careful. For those of you that are out in the winter, they will freeze up on you. I found that out the hard way this past winter when I was climbing on Godwin with a buddy of mine, and this froze up. All I did was I stuck it on my armpit for 15 minutes, and it started right back up after that.
I know that they make different combinations of fuels in the canister. They make them in different sizes, so some of them are a little bit more compatible for cold weather. Most of them are made for running in the summertime, so it would be considered like a three-season still. Some of the butane, I guess, has a problem running in really cold weather, so you have to warm up water and set the canister in order to get the hot weather. So kind of a catch-22, you have to warm in order to get warm water.
Many of these things are sold not only at REI, but at DMS and Halloween also.
We talked about a bunch of the stuff that you should have in your pack. Some of the stuff you don't necessarily have to have in the pack if you don't want to. We recommend our team members have at least a 2,000 cubic inch pack in order to, this one's from LLB. I got this, thank you, actually, for like a couple of bucks. So you can pick up packs pretty cheap. The important thing is to have your stuff with you. Some of the people I know will actually have a fishing vest or a photographer's vest that will keep most of their equipment right in that. That way you're not actually having all the weight on your back all the time. And plus you put your fishing stuff in too. As I said, we want to standardize all our equipment. We want GPSs, our headlamps, and our LEDs. The LEDs last so much longer than incandescent bulbs. You want your AA batteries from the GPS. Make sure that you can interchange it between your flashlight and your water purification unit. So all these things take the same type of battery, and you want to make sure that you have extra batteries with you.
GPS. What have you found with GPS?
The 64s seem to be doing pretty well. I mean, you can even, inside the buildings and stuff, you can pick up a signal on the 64s. 64s are the latest version. And this is actually the Teams model right here. It's a 64 ST. It actually has a camera on it. You probably don't need a camera on it. Go to the next grade down. They're usually about $220. But most of the time, even if you've got a heavy canopy, sometimes they don't work even in heavy fog. But if you get out in an open spot, a lot of these newer GPSs will actually pick up the Russian satellites too. So instead of, I think, the 12 satellites that the U.S. has, you can pick up the Russian satellites. I think they have either 12 or 24. So you can pick up quite a lot more with these newer GPSs than the older stuff. This is one of the standard ones we use for all our searches. We'll have all their sharp when you get them, and they come with sheath. They're very basic, and they'll take care of whatever you need to have cut up without any problem. The other thing I usually bring with me on actual searches is a multi-tool of some sort. And a lot of times when I go fishing and stuff, you ever get a fish embedded in your skin, a pair of pliers are pretty neat to take it out. I don't care what kind of knife you use, whether it's a Swiss Army knife, a multi-tool, a leather gun, a gerber, or a sheath knife. As long as you have something that you can cut rope with or make fires or flood sticks, make a fire with, as long as you have something.
So since we have so many people that are here in this group and are out hiking and getting outside these days, one thing I want to talk about real quick is who all has a basic first aid certification, anything like that? Okay, fair amount. All right. So with the ADK Club, I actually got both of my wilderness first responder certifications through ADK and the organization that they work with. I did that course up in Lake Placid both times. I also did the basic first aid course that they have to offer as well. I can't really stress that enough because if you're going to be out hiking, maybe you're with a friend or maybe you're in a group, if nobody else knows what to do, you're going to feel pretty helpless, and it's a pretty scary situation when you start to get into that. So if you want to take some time, there's plenty of different basic first aid courses that are always offered. Again, like I said, the ADK basic and wilderness first responder courses, I can't say enough about them. They're just absolutely fantastic. They're up at ADK Lodge. Both times I did it was in the winter. I met some great people, and just the training is just top notch. In fact, that training was being led by one of the head DEC officers in that region, and so those DEC rangers get that same wilderness first responder training that they were offering at that course. So I would definitely recommend looking into that. It's a bit of an investment, but it's well worth it.
Are those two training sessions, are they, the information overlap at all, or are they like totally different rounds?
They can be totally different, it just depends. I'm going to have to do my recertification, and that will be slightly less intensive, I think, than the normal one. But both sessions were, both classes were almost a week, 4 days, 5 days. So some of the, the wilderness first responder is a little intense. Some of you may not need that, but I think more information and understanding how the body works and what to do in a situation like that is really important. There's other courses, basic first aid too.
How are you still young for the training?
Oh, I think it's probably, 80K says 18 or 19, something like that. But you'll have to check the manual for that.
Jeff, I've got a question. This may put you on the spot a little bit, but you presented a lot of great equipment, and many people are familiar with some of the equipment from their hiking and camping. But what if you are out hiking and you are not prepared? You did not plan on getting lost. You did not plan on losing your ability to get back, and you don't have
If you got a fire, twist your ankle, grab the trail or something like that, build a fire where you are, where you're standing. Stay in one spot, keep feeding the fire, and someone will actually come find you. Some of the other areas, if they're looking for you with a helicopter, forward looking infrared will spot a campfire about 20 miles away. If you go prepared with a compass and a GPS, a lot of times you might know where you got to go, but if it's getting too dark, you just can't go anywhere. One of the things you can do is you can actually signal people from a distance by scraping your listen. This will show up quite a while or from quite a few miles away when you get scraping something like this, especially when it's dark. These Gerber strike lights are relatively inexpensive, like $15 or so, and they're worth their weight in gold. They even have a little cubby hole in the back where you can put either petroleum jelly or what's known as wet fire. And these little cubes will slow down the water and light it with a striker without any problem. But realistically, if you're lost in the woods, stay in one spot. Make yourself comfortable. If you can't move because you're injured or anything like that, just stay in one spot, make yourself as comfortable as possible. One of the things that Jeff mentioned was first aid equipment. And when we come upon somebody, if you don't know what their history is, we always put gloves on. If you don't have gloves, you're not really supposed to touch somebody. Basic first aid kit can only be this big. Some of the packs that I carry for search and rescue will have a splint in it. You can cut up to whatever broken bone you have, from a finger all the way up to a leg. But basically,
These things are great, by the way.
sand splints are really handy. You can improvise a lot of stuff in the field if you don't have tourniquets or anything like this. I think this is called a shamar. These are actually pretty handy. You can make a sling for a broken arm. You can sop up blood with it. Use them for a tourniquet. And one of the things that we just took a class last year is that tourniquets are becoming in fashion again. So one of the things that this is called a cat tourniquet. You're supposed to be able to deploy this thing if you slice yourself with an axe or a hatchet, anything like that out in the woods. You're supposed to be able to put this thing on your own limb, one-handed, and put it on, crank it down, and you can have a tourniquet on now for 8 hours without doing any further damage. So cat tourniquets are very, I'd say probably, they're a little pricier than some of the other ones, but they're probably 25, 30 bucks.
What was your question?
Yes.
Just put it on.
Yeah.
Well, what they're cutting down is this gadget right here.
It's a windlass, basically. So you turn it until the blood, so you can't feel the pulse of your windlass. And you can do a stick.
Same idea.
You can improvise the same thing with a piece of 550 board or something similar to this for a stick. Do the same thing. This is made specifically for doing a tourniquet, one-handed, so you can put it on one-handed. And a lot of the guys on the SWAT teams will actually use these things. They'll have trouble around their chances of getting shot or knife and stuff. Out in the field is pretty high. They advise us to keep these on hand, and we probably don't carry as much. So we're not as much danger with these guys that are just SWAT department. But they're also very handy to have. They're quick and yep. About 3 bucks. Generally, we get called out once a month. Some months are there for that person. The scenario depends on how bad the person is injured. If they got a broken ankle, if they got a broken, let's say they got a broken wrist. There was an incident that happened in northern New York, in the high peaks, where a lady had broken her arm, I think it was, and she called in for a helicopter. And the DEC